We're glad that you could join us to watch our new podcast series, Spotlight on Senior Living. We worked really, really hard to put together an awesome list of guests, and we hope that you like them. Thanks for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe to our channel. Okay, let's go.
Hi, Ronnie.
Hi, Jody.
Hi, Amy. How are
Hi.
you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome, Amy Kehrer. Amy has had a very long and wonderful, successful career in senior living. She is currently the Vice President of Programs and Services at Inspirit Senior Living. And more recently is the Executive Director at Nipponos Valley Village, which is a personal care home in the
busy lady.
yes, you didn't have enough to do. You needed to take on something else because you were bored. Is that right, Amy?
That probably sums it up more than I want to admit. Yes.
Okay, great.
Well, good. Well, then that brings me to right to my very first question, which is, can you share with us your personal story? So how did you get where you are today? What did you do?
Well, and a little bit of it actually did involve you, Ronnie, if you remember, years ago, when I got out of nursing school. I worked in the hospital for several years, but then I went to work in long-term care in Williamsport, and worked there as a nurse for a little while, and then went into the medical records. And after about a year or so, a marketing position became available in the facility, and for three times I applied for the job and got turned down 2 times. And on the third time, I actually got the position. And then for the next 12 years, did a lot of the sales and the marketing for both buildings that were on the campus. So I had a lot of years of really growing my passion for the business, but more importantly, didn't know that I had it in me that sales and marketing, admissions was really where I was kind of my niche more than being a nurse.
Interesting. I mean, and I do remember those days in Williamsport, and they were great centers to market because Williamsport is it's a beautiful little community, but there's 2 buildings within a stone's throw of each other. And so everybody, of course, and they were governor leaders earlier before we got involved. And so you really had, as I moved on and you moved in there, you just took right over, and it's just it's a great area. And did you enjoy that role?
I love that role. And probably would have stayed in it until I was recruited to come and be the administrator at a brand new assisted living that was coming into the Lycoming County. And so I went and became the administrator at that assisted living. That was back in 2000, I believe. And that was my first experience working in that arena, and have been in the assisted living arena ever since. So
yeah, I've been in the operations part. It's wonderful. We love to have people that are in operations that have the sales and marketing background.
I think you have to be able to understand it, and then just having a little bit of dabbling in the nursing, knowing that. I always say, listen, I probably play a nurse more on TV than you don't want me doing a lot, but I'll give shots if you want, but you probably don't want me doing a lot of anything too much as a nurse anymore. But I think having that understanding of that part of when you're working with someone who's sitting across from you and trying to make that very hard decision of where is my loved one going to live? They need something else. And that you can understand that just a little bit more. I think that does help.
Yeah, you have such a varied background that the experience that you bring to whichever one of those roles, you bring all the experience of the other roles to it. So one of the things that always concerns me, that I always think about, is when you are in a leadership role, and you're a strong woman, very often it's not easy for us to be vulnerable. So I'm wondering if there are moments that you recall that you were vulnerable, and are you able to share those with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone becomes vulnerable at some point. There's always something. I think for me, probably, and maybe more towards later years in my career, younger people coming on board who had a lot more experience in IT, things like that, would become a little bit intimidating to me until I realized that I had so much more to teach them than what I needed to know about IT. They come on board, come on board with us with all this experience in, using AI and communicating through text messages, communicating through emails, but they never really learned to communicate or form a relationship with actually using your words. And for me to be able to teach that to someone, you could make 10 connections with an email. I can accomplish the same thing in probably 2, picking up the phone call and having a real conversation. That's hard for younger people to learn, that that's really a necessary part of being successful, is communicating with your words.
Interesting that you say that, because you've been a successful leader, and there is definitely, we feel that generation gap of what you just explained. But that being said, you've obviously been successful as a leader. How would you describe your style? Well, has that changed, I guess?
It really hasn't ever changed. I've always considered myself when have I been in a leadership role as I'm part of the team. When I've had a role as executive director years ago, I used to say, listen, we need to have some kind of order in this building. So the best thing I can think of right now is let's have that phone list in alphabetical order, because the role I have certainly isn't any more important than the role that the dietary director has when she orders the food, or the person who's doing payroll. If residents' rooms aren't cleaned every week, whose role is more important, mine sitting in an office, or the person's job who didn't clean that room? So I've never looked at myself as a leader that was beyond, like, I never thought of myself in a position where I demanded a higher respect or anything like that. I want to be, I'll do any job in a building, or any job even in the corporate positions. I would always jump in and do any role, anything that anyone needed. Never would you hear the words out of my mouth, that's not my job. Ever.
That's a very humble answer, Amy.
Yeah, but
really
very true.
Yeah.
I think people that work for you or with you feel that.
Yeah.
They understand that right away, that you feel like you're part of them, that we're all important and we're all part of it.
So you have to be genuine, and you really do have to be genuine, and you just don't take yourself too serious. Don't take yourself, it makes life a lot harder when you do.
Yeah, we're really good at not taking ourselves seriously.
I was just going to say that we've had many laughs along the way, and we keep saying 10 years together, but it's probably more like 15, and
a little closer to 15.
And I think you're right, Amy. It's kind of what keeps us going, and being able to laugh at each other and learn from those mistakes, but not to think it's not life or death. It's part of growth. So I agree with that.
So knowing that about you now, I'm wondering who impacted you? Who was there somebody in your past that really made a difference, that gave you something that sent you on your way?
I think there's 2 people. And as a young person deciding what to do with the rest of my life, My father was in and out of the hospital a lot, with a bad heart. And he would say when he knew I wanted to be a nurse, he'd say, you know, I could always tell when I'm going to have a good nurse today because her shoes are always white. And again, going back to when, you know, we wore white shoes, white stockings, a white and a cap. And he always said, I know I'll have a good nurse because her shoes are clean. And you can believe that I never walked out of the house as a nurse with dirty shoes. So I thought, later on in life, people are always looking at you to see what, you know, how you're presenting, you know, what you're doing. And he also was very impactful in the way I think about things, the way I react to people. He said it didn't matter what person, good person, bad person, there's always a good. Your job is to always find that good in a person because it does exist. And so if I could take an employee who was maybe not the best employee and find that one thing that I knew was going to make them a better employee or make them have a better life, then I always felt that was my goal. Like, find that and make them a good person. I remember I had a caregiver once and struggling in life, not a good marriage, not a lot of money, but she was so well spoken. And her handwriting was so beautiful. And I can remember saying to her, hey, Andy, I need care plans written on all these residents. You work with them every day. Like, your vocabulary is great. Your writing is impeccable. Will you start doing all my care plans for me? And she did. And then she got so much confidence, and I found out she loved to cook. Well, she later became the dietary director. And then she was able to provide like a better life. And I was like, that's what you're supposed to do. I've always just lived that life. And I think the second person that impacted me was probably the gentleman who started Inspirit Senior Living. And I think what I was able to do and what I often told him was that he taught us how to love out loud and not be afraid of love and not be afraid to tell someone, I love you. And when you can look at your employees or you look at your residents and you know, like, to really say like, hey, I love you. You know, I'm glad you're here. It just was, I don't know, gave me a whole new perspective on life. Like, I'm not afraid to love out loud because you know what? We need more of that, especially in our business. We need a lot more of that.
Yeah, you know, Amy, as you're talking about the people that worked with you, I always think back to the people that were my leaders, whether they were administrators, VPs, whoever they were. And I always think you learn something from everyone. Every one of them taught me something. They may have taught me what I don't want to do, or they maybe have taught, but you can learn from all of those people. And it sounds like that's what you did. You had this experience and you've taken what you've learned and put it into your world. And the people that you work with benefit greatly from that, Amy. I mean, they're benefiting from all that you've learned and brought to them. So I guess my next question then would be, when you think back on your career, not that it's over by any means, but when you think back on so far, what would you say is your greatest accomplishment besides family? What would be your greatest?
Let me see. I think probably not taking myself too serious. I've never, I don't know. I think that my greatest accomplishment is being able to have such a balance in my life that loving what I do. I just don't know how to put it into words. Loving what I do really was able to help me to raise a family, be successful there, but also be successful in my career. And never really drawing a line in the sand of so I'm not sure how to say it. Just never drawing a line between what I needed to accomplish at home versus what I need to accomplish at work. But I think personally, my biggest accomplishment was working really hard with the gentleman who started Inspirit Senior Living and getting to the position where, I became the vice president, and like huge accomplishment. What small town girl from Cogan Station, Pennsylvania would be the vice president of a major senior living company with 27 buildings in 6 states. To me, it was a huge accomplishment. And I think, with that position, probably the second biggest accomplishment would have been that I was able to fall asleep immediately on an airplane because I flew so much. So where most people couldn't accomplish that. So, but I think that, all reality, knowing that, I really came from not a huge education, not a 4-year college, anything like that, but I was able to grow and take steps my whole life, my whole career, to where I did become a vice president. And that's just important to me. I would never even wear my name badge going into buildings because I didn't need the title, but it was deep down inside a great accomplishment.
It is a great accomplishment. It's a great accomplishment for anyone, I think, to be able to achieve the level of a vice president of a major company like that. And everything you've talked about before you got there, to me, explains why you got there, because you're bringing all that you learned to that role. So I think you definitely deserve congratulations for getting to that role. And it sounds like you have a great balance in your life, in your home life, your work life, and your home life as well. Yeah. So, okay. So I want to switch gears a little bit, if I can, and go to our industry right now. So, we've been in this industry for a long time, and we've seen a lot of changes, and it keeps changing every year. Every couple of years, something else changes. We're in the middle right now, I think, of one of the biggest changes that I've seen happening with the boomers and IL and AL and all of that. So what do you think, if you had to think about our senior living industry today, what would you say? What's its condition, and where do you think it's going in the next couple of years?
I see it. I think, what I said before, I see it becoming so automated, and so much of the person being taken out of the business that I just don't really see how it can keep going in that direction without someone stopping and saying, listen, we need people. We need real people doing real jobs, and not AI. AI doesn't, I've used AI a lot to create policies, procedures, those kind of things, but not AI to write a letter that I need to write to a family. And I know I have a lot of colleagues that have done that, like put all the information in and say, I need to write this letter, Like I just think, if you can't do that yourself, should you really be in that position where you need an AI to write letters for you, things like that? I don't know. I just see it losing a lot of the personal touch of the people touching people, and it's
Yeah,
a lot.
AI can't hold their hand. AI can't say I love you to the
Right.
staff,
Right.
so you're right. Well, what do you think? I mean, do you see that changing? Do you see anything coming down the pike that will make that better?
I don't, unless they keep some of us folks around that know how to do it, because this newer folks coming on board, they just don't know how to do it. I mean, I hate to say that, like, they don't know how to do jobs that we did without all this technology. I often say, you could have the best CRM in the whole world. I mean, it could be top notch, but I've often said, I'll guarantee you that I could go into a community with census challenge, never touch a CRM, and fill your building.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll do that. And I just think that's the piece that's missing. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do a job without the assistance of a CRM and follow up. If there's no genuine follow up, it doesn't matter. You could have the best person that that they've been through this college, they've got this, they've got that. We've got the best CRM out there. But if they don't know how to communicate and follow up, I've often said it, I'll fill your building without ever touching my computer.
Right, right.
Amy, it's funny that you would mention that earlier today. Ronnie and I were having a conversation about one of the wonderful things about our industry is we don't feel like we've aged out. Some of these industries, want the younger, not that we don't, but it's wonderful that, and I'm going to say women our age too, don't feel like we've aged out. And because one of the things that we bring is that human component.
Right.
So for people that are out there listening, maybe women that are deciding to, quote, retire from a current career, maybe they should look into healthcare, because I think it's important that we keep that personal touch in our business.
It is. It's once, this generation steps out in 10 years, it is going to be, there's going to be a different face of this industry. There truly will be.
Yeah. So I have one, you have any other questions?
I'm going to go back to your work-life balance and all the wonderful things you said. I have they're not children, they're 30 and 33, but I consider them the beginning of their careers. Because as we know, people change a lot these days.
Your daughters.
My daughters.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. What advice would you give to young men and women today that are just starting out in their careers?
Well, and I've had to do that with my daughters as well. And I think, and what I've always told them was, don't give up immediately. And I think we see so much of that nowadays. It's so easy to say, oh, I've been in this job 6 months now. Oh, another opportunity came up. Oh, I'm going to jump to that job. I've been there a year. I'm going to jump to this job. It's like, stay, grow where you're planted for a while, stay there, get those merit raises, learn the business. Had I not stayed in Williamsport at Skilled for 15 years, I wouldn't have learned everything that I needed, that I learned and actually I feel like that is what got me started in my career. Really staying there and growing and learning everything I could learn. And then I was able to go out and spread my wings and start a career. So I've often told my children that, like, stay where you're at, like, don't keep jumping from job to job to job. And I just think there's so much lost when that happens. You start over again, and then even for the community, then you're starting over again with someone. And if they're jumping because of money all the time, well then that's probably not the person you wanted anyway. I would never hire anyone in a leadership position that their first question was, "What's the pay?"
Right.
They were
Agree.
immediately off. They were gone. They never
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
past that. So, I'd say, and learn from us, we're a wealth of information. We've got years behind us. We are a wealth. Take everything from me that you could possibly get, because I'm willing to give it to you. I'm willing to teach you.
Great.
That's
I love
wonderful.
that.
That's great advice, Amy. And, I just find you fascinating. And I find that your warmth, your depth of caring,
Mhm.
and you mix that with your experience and your background. And you're right. People that know you, young people that know you, hopefully people call you from this video and say, hey, I could use some help. They would be gaining so much benefit from not just knowledge, but wisdom as well. So
I
we
agree.
thank you so much for being with us
Welcome.
today. And we wish you all the best of luck in
Thank you.
all of your jobs.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Amy.
Well, that does it. We hope that you liked it. If you did, please share it with everyone, put it on your Facebook page, subscribe to our newsletter, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.